Alrighty. Hope everybody is doing well. My name is Bohlale Paile, back for another webinar, all Black Bullion related. Hope everybody is well. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Tuesday. I just got this energy. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe it's another webinar that's got me so juiced up and excited. Good evening and welcome everybody. I hope you guys are well. You're safe. You're warm. Because while winter is doing the most, but we're keeping warm, we're keeping safe. My name is Bohlale Paile, and I'm proud to be part of the Black Bullion South Africa team. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for a very important speed date. So nearly 4 years ago, we launched Black Bullion South Africa, and since then, we've given more than 15,000 young people across the country free access to our platform, thanks to the incredible support of Sanlam Foundation, our partners, and our stakeholders. That's 15,000 young people building their confidence, learning new skills, taking small but powerful steps towards a better financial future. So why are we here tonight? What's going on? What are we doing today? It's a really important topic, right? Because we're going to be speed dating, but the topic itself is very important. It's about careers, it's about studies, it's about job hunting, it's about having that real talk about some of these things, right? So we know that youth unemployment remains one of the biggest challenges facing our country. And, according to Statistics South Africa, youth unemployment rate for people between the ages of 15 and 34 is 45.8%. Guys, it is absolutely high. There's too much going on in terms of unemployment, right? And it's not just a number, it's real lives that are affected, real families, real futures that are impacted, right? And even those that do have a job, whether it's an internship or you're studying, we're still going through it, right? We're still going through it. There's so much pressure as well. So perhaps you've asked yourself, how do I make my CV stand out? What skills do I actually need? How do I prepare for an interview? Hey guys, interviews are so scary. How do you grow your network without feeling awkward? How do you move from I need a job to I'm ready for the right opportunity? So many questions, and I'm hoping that today's guest will be able to answer them for us. In fact, I'm confident that she definitely will be. So tonight's speed date with a career advisor is a safe and relaxed space for you to ask all your career questions. Awkward or not, we're going to have them covered. Whether you're studying, whether you're an intern, whether you're unemployed, whether you are employed, this session is still for you. There is something that you will gain from this session. So much to look forward to in terms of today's session. Right. There's also some goodies that we're going to be giving away as part of today's session. It's something called the Career Playbook, right? So 4 lucky winners will get access to the Career Playbook. In fact, it was created by today's guest, today's expert. Oh, she's amazing. So if you'd like to get your chance to win that Career Playbook, each playbook is worth $750. Oh, guys, we put the money into this for you guys. We'll definitely do it. So this is what you want to do in case you want to get into the draw to potentially win. This is what you need to do. Engage with us in the chat box. For instance, let me know where you're watching us from at the moment. Follow us on social media. I'm going to share all of our handles. Ask questions, share your thoughts in the chat. We want to hear from you guys. This is all about you. So we want to hear your thoughts, your opinions. And the more you engage, the better your chances of potentially winning that Career Playbook. It is amazing, guys. It's an engaging course. It's packed with practical tools, there's templates, there's insights. How do you build a standout CV? How do you prepare for an interview? How do you strengthen your LinkedIn without sounding weird? Because some people's LinkedIns are very strange. Everything is in this book. It'll sort of, get you ahead of a lot of other people. So this is one that you definitely will want to win. In terms of our social media, you can find us on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. We are everywhere. We're even on X. And of course, you can also pop us an email, blackbullion@wafunda.com. We are everywhere. So what's on the menu for today's session? We're going to do a couple of things. First and foremost, we're going to spill the tea as per normal, which means we're going to be gossiping. Unkosi. We'll be gossiping. Number two, we'll be talking a bit about Black Bullion. For those that don't have access, we're going to give you access to that amazing platform. We're going to play a game of hot career takes, right, with our guest. She's be coming up really, really soon. We'll go speed dating as well, answering some of your big questions when it comes to your career. And then we'll be announcing the career book winners. That's what you can expect in terms of what we'll be busy with. Let me head into the chat. Let me see where people are watching us from. Sfiso says, I'm all the way in Limpopo watching. Tina says, I'm watching from Germiston. Evuzwa says, evening, watching from the Eastern Cape. Sambe says, I'm watching from Khayelitsha. Silent says, I'm all the way in Limpopo. People are all over the show. Where my Joburg people? Where my Joburg people? Nanani says, watching from Rand Park Ridge in Johannesburg. Chedza says, I'm out in Pretoria. Sam says, I'm watching from Soweto Dlamini. And Nokpiwa says, I'm watching from Durban. Nice, nice, nice. So people are watching from everywhere. That's absolutely amazing. We're so excited to have you guys as well throughout the session. And of course, like we said, we are speed dating. We're having fun. We're talking a bit about money and careers and how all of that also comes together. So much to look forward to. We're going to get into the session itself because that's what it's all about. It's all about talking a bit about careers. And of course, I have to introduce our fantastic guest as well. So we're going to continue pushing through with stuff. And I think where we need to start is with a random question, right? Where we spill the tea. I want us to spill the tea a little bit, right? So I want to know from you guys, if your CV had a personality, right? Would it be confident? Would it be shy? Would it be dramatic? Will it be still under construction? You know, where it's critical, but it's a bit stable, you know? Which of these would describe your CV? We're going to pull up a poll so people can fill it in. But those that want to type, I mean, get into the chat. I'm keen to know, I mean, your CV. Hey, guys, I don't even know where my CV is. Hey, it's one of the questions I actually want to ask Bohlale, our guest. How often should you be updating your CV? But that's just me. Let me see what's going on. 40% of people are saying confident. Right? So most people are in their confident era. Nice, nice, nice. About 42% are saying under construction. I'm still building. You know, there's a specific man that has lots of wives that says, I'm building here. Oh man, it's lovely to see that most people are busy with these CVs. That's absolutely amazing. Shout out to you guys. Under construction, confident. I'm not seeing a single shy, which tells me we're in the right room with the right young people. Shout out to you guys. So for those that are interested in learning more about Black Bullion, you've heard about us, you've never gotten access to the platform, don't worry, we've got you sorted out. So Black Bullion South Africa, it's a platform to just help you better understand your money. It's not a course. It's not meant to trick you. It's a tool so that when you experience a money moment, you've got that buddy to help you along that moment. So maybe you're thinking of buying your first car, your first house. Maybe you're thinking of budgeting, of investing. Maybe you've heard of cryptocurrency and you're trying to figure out what on earth is this thing. We try and break it down for you guys. So that's what the Black Bullion platform was all about. There's articles, there's quizzes, there's a budgeting tool, there's a money personality tool. There's so much to look forward to in terms of this platform. It is absolutely amazing. And if you'd like to get free access to the platform courtesy of the Sanlam Foundation, scan the QR code, click on to register, and you will be within the vibes with us on the Black Bullion platform. Righty, and if you need our help, you need any assistance, you need anything from us, do pop us an email, blackbullion@wafunda.com. That's where you can find us. So that's just a little bit on Black Bullion. But for now, we're going to be introducing our experts, you know, going on this date, right? Going on this date. That's I'm even bringing, as today I'm looking beautiful, guys. Ooh, you can see I'm even glowing a little bit. So I'm gonna bring our amazing guest onto stage, and look at her. Her hair's all done. She's looking good. Bohlale, thank you so much for joining us for today's speed date.
Thank you, Tsepo. It's been such a fun time listening to you. I've been laughing here secretly, more backstage, but I'm super excited to be here. Thank you.
But that's absolutely beautiful. It's so lovely to have you. And of course, I mean, you are experienced in the space of helping young people to better understand their careers, all the way from the CV to what should I study to how do I prepare for this interview. I mean, you've got us on lock in terms of giving us all that information. Of course, you're the amazing founder of Get Corporate Ready. So you've done amazing work, and we know we've got the right person that's joining us for this date. And I know you were everywhere. I know you're on Instagram. So those that are looking for an Instagram, you can find her there. You can also find Get Corporate Ready, which is her business, and of course, helping us to get corporate ready. You can also find her on YouTube, amazing resource in terms of information. And of course, she's also on LinkedIn. Please do follow her as well. So you've got the details in terms of the person that we're going on a date with. But now it's all about the date itself. So, Bohlale, was really, really interesting when people were registering for the webinar. There was a really interesting question that came up. I think we received about 200 questions from young people. But this question was really interesting because it was a question for you, and it's quite personal. And I think it's a great way for us to kick off the date. And the question is, if you were 18 again, knowing everything that you know about careers, about success, about setbacks, what would you do differently over the next 5 years?
Sure. Hey, Tsepo, that's such a great question, right? Because if I think back to 18, Pela 18, you're still in high school, you're in your final year, you're in matric. And if I were to think 5 years on from being in matric, I mean, those are critically the years around university time, right? And I think for me, if I were to think back to that time, the first thing that I'd absolutely do again is to travel. So I took a gap year after high school. And it didn't come easily. I mean, luckily I had family that lived, in the States at the time. And I said to my dad, I just want to take a break. I want to travel. And he's like, hey, my girl, I'm not going to just pay for you to travel. You're going to go work. Once you get at least half of your ticket, then I'll give you the other half, right? And so eventually, I think traveling for me was one of those things that, quite early on, gave me a sense of confidence, gave me a sense of independence, and gave me such a broader perspective on the world, right? So that's something I did and that I'd definitely do again. And I'd encourage any young person that has an opportunity to do anything overseas, whether it's working, whether it's whatever it is, whatever opportunities are there. Then the biggest thing that I do differently, Tsepo, I think for me, when I think back to 18 and I think 5 years in, a lot of the decisions I made around the career that I went into was really formed around what other people said. When I say other people, guys, let's be honest, our parents play a big role, right, as to what course we end up taking. And so, I remember saying to my dad, oh, I want to be in the travel industry. And he's like, hey, you're not going to be in the travel industry. They're going to use you to transport drugs all over the place. And I was like, okay. I want to be a psychologist. Like, no, clinical psychology doesn't make money. What are you going to do, And so eventually, after all of this types of decisions, I ended up going into HR, right? And even in the choice of doing HR, it was still a process of elimination of who am I, what do I love to do? So I think the biggest thing that I do differently is consistently try and choose things that are aligned with who I am and the kind of person Bohlale is. I'm not talking about passions. I'm talking about the kind of person Bohlale is and what Bohlale enjoys doing. Because trust me, your career is very, very long. Then, once I've made the decision around what it is, I would completely lock in. Tsepo, one of the things that I've seen around young people is that, and one of the things I saw about myself is that, you go into varsity and your perception is just about, I'm going to go in, I'm going to pass year after year, I'm going to pass, I'm going to get that certificate and that's it. But the difference is that there are people that go into university and they are ready to lock in. And by lock in, I mean they're taking their academics seriously. They're making sure to take on extracurricular activities, leadership positions whilst they're at university. And what they're doing is they're creating such a massive skill set whilst they're studying. And that skill set and locking in on your academics is exactly what creates opportunities that allow for you to be able to choose where it is you want to start your career, what organization you want to start with. So I'd definitely do that. I didn't get to start in the organization I wanted to because I wasn't locked in, and I would certainly do that differently. So
Yeah,
in summary,
no, continue, please.
no, so I was saying in summary, I'd choose a path that really aligns with who Bohlale is as a person. And then I'd give the university years everything I have, because those are the years that actually create the opportunities and that shape, the next decade of your career and how your career actually starts.
I think that starting point of knowing who you are, what aligns to you, is a great place to start. The one time I was talking to somebody about investing, and they said, "What should I invest in?" And I was like, "What are you interested in? Who are you?" That's always the starting place for a lot of
Yeah.
things. I completely agree with you, and I think that's a great place for a lot of us to sort of start if we're right at the beginning and we don't know where to go. It's a question of who are you, and then when you get the opportunity, actually lock in. A lot of us play with opportunities, and we think first years where you're going to be vibing, or I'm in this internship, I won't take it too seriously for the first 3 months, and then I'll pick it up. But if you lock it in from the jump, then things tend to work out all the time. So I definitely agree with that. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Get into it. Let us know what your thoughts are. We're going to be reading all your messages and just hearing from you guys, because you guys are super, super important to us. And of course, we're also going to be playing our game that's going to be coming up onto the screen. So, Bohlale, I hope you're ready for our game, and I'm going to explain it to you and anybody else that might be new. So it's called the Career Hot Takes, right? It's a very, very interesting game that we like to play, and it's very, very simple. So we've compiled a list of career hot takes, right? And we need to either agree, disagree, or say that this thing is complicated, right? So if the hot take comes onto the screen and we all agree on the hot take, we move on. There's no reason to discuss it. If we all disagree on it, we also move on. But if people say it's complicated, some agree, some disagree, then we need to break it down. Clearly, we need to have a conversation about whatever that hot take may be. So those are the rules of the game. Bohlale is part of it, I'm part of it. And of course, you as the participant watching this webinar, you are part of it as well. So get into the chat. So I'm going to get into our first hot money take. And this is what it says, right? In South Africa, your network can open more doors than your degree. Get into the chat. Agree, disagree. Do you think it's complicated? In South Africa, your network can open more doors than your degree. I disagree. I disagree. I don't know if
it's complicated.
Bohlale, do you agree, disagree? Do you think it's complicated?
It's complicated. It's complicated, Seppo. Yeah, I don't know if you want me to give you my thoughts now, but I definitely think it's complicated.
Look, I can see most people in the chat are agreeing with you that it's a little bit complicated. Some people are saying definitely it's complicated. Some are agreeing, some are disagreeing. So clearly it's one that needs to be discussed, right? Why do you say it's complicated? Let me hear this from you.
Because you know what, Seppo, I think it depends on what career path you're going on, right? There's certain degrees that certainly open doors for you. There's certain career paths that you have to have the degree. If you wanted to become a chartered accountant, there's no network or connection that's going to get you into becoming a chartered accountant or a lawyer. There's certain disciplines. If you want to be a doctor, there's no network that will allow you to just be a doctor and So I think it's complicated in the sense that degrees do open doors, right? But I also think that having a network really helps you walk through those doors. So there are times where you need to have something that backs you so that the person that is speaking about you or that is vouching for you has something to stand on. It can't just be, hey, it's my cousin, whatever the case may be. And so, yes, that happens. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Mara, in this day and age in South Africa, you want to get yourself a great career. The degree opens the door. The network helps you walk through it. And so relationships actually, for me, are what creates the opportunities that qualifications often can't. But you need the qualification.
Ooh, I love that. I love what you're saying. So I'm reading a couple of comments. Karabo says degrees are in high demand, so it's a need. Dalton says it's complicated. It does work for some. Matlati says the right network, that's true. So it's definitely almost like a combination of things that tends to work. I agree, because you can't just wake up and say, I'm going to Bara and I'm going to operate on people. But like that's
Wabo.
tight. What do you mean?
Exactly,
Like,
exactly.
but I guess, Buchali, that still means that having a network is important. We're not saying it's not important,
Yes.
right? Okay.
No,
All
definitely
righty.
important.
All righty. So let's get into the second hot take. All right. Sometimes the first job is not about passion. It's about getting your foot in the door. Maybe you end up working at McDonald's.
Oh.
It's just about getting your foot in the door. And I know people that will say, if it's not the thing that I studied for, I'm not doing it. So that's our hot careers take. Sometimes the first job is not about the passion, it's about getting your foot in the door. Agree, disagree, it's complicated. Get into the chat, let us know what are your thoughts. What do you guys think? Is it an agreement? Do you guys disagree? Where are you guys with this? Clive says I agree. Vanessa says I definitely agree. Bongyuan says, man, it's complicated. What do you mean? What do you mean it's complicated? Okay. Butali, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think it's complicated? Where are you on this one?
Listen, 100% agree with the fact that your first job isn't always about passion. Like I said, I didn't get into the job that I wanted to, that I was really passionate about, that I thought I was passionate about, you know? So I feel like, you know, that early job just teaches you the basic skills that you need, and you've developed and find passion along the way. And so every role almost develops those transferable skills. And passion grows through your competence, right? The more competent you become in a particular skill set or in the workplace, you start developing an understanding of who it is that you are within the work context. What do you love doing? What don't you love doing? So that first job, I definitely think, has everything to do with teaching you workplace skills and just getting you in the door.
I completely agree with you. One of my first jobs, it was a passion, but it's not what I studied. I actually worked on commercial radio. So I was a radio DJ at YFM. And a lot of people ask me, how are you able to speak so well and so confidently? And I'm like, it's because of radio.
Yeah.
So sometimes you end up doing a job that you didn't plan on doing, but you learn a skill that is so important.
Yes.
And that skill ends up being
Yes.
utilized in your next role. So I agree with
100.
you that sometimes it's not about the passion. Just get your foot in the door. And once you're in the room, you can then navigate things. And it seems quite a lot of people agree with that as well. Katlego was saying, I highly agree. Once you're in, you're in. Sipone says, I agree, just to get some exposure, see how you feel. Lulama says, I agree, getting relevant skills for where you're going is super, super important. Sometimes you're not even getting paid for that job. And maybe, Charlie, we can touch on that. I know sometimes we look down on volunteering somewhere and being like, I'm not going to get paid, I'm wasting my time. But volunteering opens doors. So, in my context of radio, I started on campus radio where we're not getting paid and ended up getting paid. So, maybe we talk a bit about opportunities that are unpaid and the importance of them.
Certainly, Tsapo. I think, you know, there's so many opportunities that are unpaid or that have minimal payment, but those are the exact opportunities that allow for you to just get your foot in the door. And what do I mean by that? It's also about the relationships you build whilst you are volunteering. It's the people that you meet along the way. It's the skills and potential that they identify in you. And that could be the next person that's connecting you. That could be the start of building this network, right? That's opening doors for you later on. And I saw it in my own career. That's exactly how I started. Part-time job. It wasn't quite paying as much. But you know, those are the same people that after I did my honors, they gave me my first opportunity, called me back in and said, come, let's get working. We saw the work you did. You did a phenomenal job. Come, let's start. And that's how I started my career. So let's not undermine those low-paying, sometimes volunteering opportunities, internships, because man, it's about what you do in that time. It's not about whether you're getting paid or not at that point in time.
100%. And I think Michelle even adds to that as well. And she says, after your first job, you start to see what your passion is and what you actually love. So it's an opportunity for you to also see things that you're not really into, that you thought you might be into, and then now exposing you to something new, which I think is super, super important. So lots of great comments coming into the chat. Let's get into hot take number 3. Woo! If a job post says entry level, but wants 3 years experience, we need to report it to the ancestors, or we need to go to the Butanga Commission. We need to take it there. So hot take, if a job post says entry level, but they want experience, we need to either report them to the ancestors or we need to go to the Madlanga Commission because something ain't right. Agree, disagree. Do you think it's complicated? Let me see what's happening in the chat. I just saw so many messages in the chat. Agree, exclamation, exclamation, strongly agree. There's a lot of Bohlale, where are you?
Respectfully.
Where are you with this specific career take? Is it one that you agree with, you disagree with, or what are your thoughts about this one?
Listen, man, I agree, right? Because like how do you say entry level and then or 3 years experience? Like that on its own, just that line on its own doesn't make sense, right? So I do agree that it is something that just even the wording of it doesn't make sense. It is a frustrating aspect, but it's absolutely common, and that's why it's actually brought up as one of the questions on here. And I think I maybe want to dispel it, right? Having been a recruiter and an employer. I think what we often mean by needing some experience is like we need evidence of your skills, right? Arbatumutu that's going to come in and all of a sudden they're coming in and all they have to show is their academics. It's like, so what else have you done? Like, what other skills do you have? Have you done projects? Have you volunteered? Have you done VAC work? Have you done some leadership, freelancing? Like, what else have you done in the time that you were studying? So when we say with some experience, like we're looking for evidence of how you've built a skill set, how you've built some sort of muscle that's going to allow us to say, okay, this person is not starting from scratch. They've done a bit of the hard yards during university. So even if it's part-time work, right? All of those things add to your CV. But I completely agree. Asking for entry level and then saying 3 years is like contradictory. But look at it from that perspective of what else have you done whilst you were studying that allows for you to build a skill set.
Yes, I think the complication, and I'm seeing it in the chat, is let's say I do have experience. I don't know what should I put in my CV and what counts as experience and what doesn't. Because sometimes the experience isn't really formal. And I don't know how do we navigate that as young people trying to get a job. And maybe you can guide us on what are the types of things that I should be adding and what actually counts as experience.
Yeah, Tapo, that's a great question, actually. And I think a lot of young people get stuck at this. So when we say experience, it's not about the job title. It's not about what you were doing whilst you were doing that. It's about the skill set that you gained whilst doing it. So when you think about the work that you've done, so say you've done volunteering, right, or community work, putting down community work and maybe you're applying for like a chartered accountant job, it doesn't seem like community work actually plugs into what a chartered accountant does. But what have you gained whilst doing community work? What have you gained whilst volunteering, right? What are the skill sets? So think about it from a transferable skill set perspective, working in teams, collaborating, being a project manager and a project administrator, depending on what the community was working on at that point in time, your communication ability. Sometimes some of the young people are in slightly leadership positions, right? They put in charge of running a particular project, even though it's a volunteering role. But that leadership skill that you've gained, that's what you need to be selling. So when you put down community work on your CV, put it down, but articulate it from a skill set perspective, not exactly what you were doing in the community. So think transferable skills. What are the skills organizations are looking for? How have I gained those skills in the small little things that I've done at university? So look at it from that perspective instead.
Yeah, I love what you said, that it's not really about the title of what you were doing, but the skills you gained in doing that thing, which I think is where we
Yes.
all miss out. But it's interesting to also see, some of the messages and some of the questions that are coming up. So I understand, experience is something that is such an issue, and that's why a lot of us can't get a job. Rotondwa says, if it's 1 year, I would understand, but 3 years is a lot for entry level. Another person, he says, I definitely disagree with this one, and Karabo agreeing. So a lot of mixed emotions from people. And I know the experience thing is a big thing, but I think you clarified it in saying it's not really the title in terms of what you were doing, but the skills you gained from that activity, which is, I think, a new way to look at it. Because there are things that you might have left out of your CV that you might now actually need to consider adding them back onto that, which I think is a big help on that one. All right, let's get into hot take career number 4. Right, so it says, if a workplace is toxic, leaving without a perfect plan can still be the right career move. You know, I've heard of people that say they're going for lunch and then they don't come back. That's what the manager. I've heard of a lot of people. They say they're going to lunch. That's the last time they were seen. They leave everything there. So this toxic workplace is a really interesting one. I mean, sometimes it's not even a workplace. You're in an internship or you're in a skills development program, and it's just super, super toxic. So get into the chat, let us know if a workplace or a work environment is toxic. Leaving without a perfect plan can still be the right career move. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is it complicated? Perhaps you've got a story to tell and you've had to make a move. Perhaps you were the one that said you're going to lunch and then you didn't come back. But Charlie, you don't spot me as one of those people. I don't think you're one of those people. But here's the thing: do you agree? Do you disagree? Is it complicated? Because they say mental health and mental wellness.
Mamela, I've in 15 years I've gone through toxic environments, right?
Okay.
And I've navigated them. I've crashed and burned. I've been on sick leave for 2 weeks where I couldn't feel the left side of my body, because of just like this place was hectic that I was in. And so if I agree, disagree, or it's complicated, I think the part that becomes complicated is really just around leaving without a plan. That for me is like, to do what, right? Like, I always feel like, the complicated part of it is that if you're going to leave and not know what you're doing next, you can already tell in the first 3 months whether an environment is for you, whether it's toxic, whether it's not toxic, right? And so how are you ensuring that in that time you are strategically placing yourself in opportunities or positions that are going to allow for you to pivot when the time comes? You can't wake up one day and say, I'm going for lunch, and then you just never return, right? Because then what does that lead to? Now you're at home doing what? You don't know how long the job hunt is going to be. You could be home for 2 years. You could be home and feel like, oh no, it will take 3 months to get a new job. And a year in, 2 years in, you are still there. You are still hustling. Now you're moving back home. Now you are, so many things can have a trickle effect on it. So what am I trying to say? Mental health is important. It's important to be able to identify in yourself when you are starting to get to that level. This is not working for me and I'm slowly spiraling, right? But ideally leave with a plan. That I think for me is the most important thing. But protecting yourself comes first, right? So I never say like ride it out until you have a plan, because what if that plan is 2 years down the line and you are really just going through a serious time? So put yourself first, but ideally leave with a plan. That's why I think it's complicated.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I mean, looking at the chat again, Vitali, that's the exact same thing. Spiwa says, I disagree. Your situation is the biggest motivator in this case. Sambiso says, leaving without a solid plan can leave you worse off than staying in that situation. Vanessa says it's very, very complicated. It depends on the situation. Number Temba says it's complicated. What are you going to eat unless your family can afford to carry you, even though you're an adult? Kanyisile says completely disagree. Emma also disagreeing. So it's another one where majority of people are disagreeing, but I can also see where it becomes a bit complicated as well. For instance, I had left a job after 6 months in 2018. And I left the job without a plan, but I had 2 years worth of savings because I was like, at very least for 2 years, I'm sorted out. Expenses, everything is sorted, but it gives me a breather as well. So there has to be some sort of plan in place.
That's it.
But mental health is important. But I also agree with what you're saying. You can't just drop it and keep it moving. It just does not make sense. So get into the chat, keep dropping all those messages. As we said, we're going to be giving that career playbook to 4 lucky people. Just go follow us on social media and, of course, also engage. But that's happening. There's a lot of that happening. All right, let's get into number 5. LinkedIn is no longer optional. It is where your CV goes to network while you sleep. Agree, disagree, or is it complicated? Bohlale, what are your thoughts on this one and LinkedIn? Is it one that you agree with?
Definitely one that I agree with. I believe in this day and age, recruiters are searching LinkedIn and are looking. Sometimes they get your CV first, but if they're interested in you, they'll go to your LinkedIn and go and see, okay, who's this person in real life? Because what LinkedIn is in this day and age, suppose that it's a live CV. It's telling me a little bit more of the activity that you're engaged in, the kind of person that you are, what are you commenting, what are you following. It gives you a broader view than just what a CV does. And so the digital reputation is something that I think definitely matters. So learning to optimize it before you need the job is actually a fantastic way of positioning yourself. And I'm not just saying this as a recruiter. I've seen many young people get international opportunities just because their LinkedIn was on point. I ask a lot of them, how did you get the opportunity to apply? They're like, no, they contacted me on LinkedIn. No, they contacted me on LinkedIn, right? But how's na profile? Then those opportunities are slipping by you.
That's
So,
true.
so you need to have something from a LinkedIn perspective. Guys, we're in a digital era, right? We cannot still be archaic and be doing the 5-page CV. That is not the time to be doing that. In this day and age, 1-page, 2-page maximum CV, but you make sure that your LinkedIn is on point, because it's definitely becoming, the type of place that recruiters are going to verify whether they want to take the person or not.
Yeah, and I guess when we do get to the next section where it's the speed date and the questions, we'll figure out how do I make my LinkedIn attractive? Because I'm starting to see people
Exactly.
treating LinkedIn like it's TikTok, and I'm like, but it doesn't
Hey.
really make sense. But okay, I get it. I guess it's going to be one of the questions that we have. Duduzi says in the chat, I agree. LinkedIn gives first impression to recruiters before you meet the recruiters face to face. So if you're agreeing with us. This is the opportunity then for you guys to start asking your burning career questions, whether you're employed, whether you're unemployed, whether you're an intern, whether you already got a job, whatever the case is. We know the question of employment is such an important one. Please do ask your questions. Bukali, the first question that I have, I'd already looked through some of the questions when people were registering. And it's one that I think we all experienced as young people, and it's one that's really, really difficult to navigate. It's unemployment pressure. This is what the question basically said. How do you deal with stress, rejection, self doubt that comes with being unemployed or applying for jobs for a very, very long time?
Sure. Such a brilliant question, Tsepo. The pressure is real. I don't want to undermine it. And the ways in which you go about dealing with that is really just firstly asking yourself, are you showing up and are you visible in the right ways? Right? I think a lot of people in this day and age, especially a lot of young people, they neglect their online presence. So they're neglecting the LinkedIn and the power that can have. They're neglecting really putting in effort into their CV in a way that is customized for the roles that they're applying for. Today, Tsepo, so many people just create one CV and they send it to everything. And then they're applying for 100 different jobs with exactly the same CV. And they expect to stand out. But actually, what makes you stand out is, as a recruiter, when I'm receiving your CV, I can see the CV has been curated for this particular role, has been curated for us as an organization, right? When I see that effort, and then when I go into LinkedIn and I can see, that your LinkedIn profile is matching, it's live, it's real, it's updated, that is what starts getting you more attracted. So instead of spiraling, instead of sitting and feeling like I'm never getting an opportunity, there are no opportunities out there, tell yourself there are opportunities out there and I'm going to position myself well for them. A lot of people give up very early in their career because they're not finding those opportunities that they're looking for. And then they negate simple things like going and knocking on doors, going and volunteering, right? We spoke about this. Sometimes your first opportunity is not going to be the one you want, but how are you getting out there and ensuring that you're getting some level of experience that you can put on your CV whilst you are job hunting? So you need to be strategic. You need to be ready for the job market. You need to position yourself for the job market. And in the interim, ask yourself, what small ways can I integrate into the community in a way that's going to allow for me to build a skill set that I can now speak to, that can keep me active, that can keep me busy.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's a really interesting question here by at Learn with Us. I don't know what your real name is. That's the handle. But they asked such a brilliant question that's got so many layers. It seems simple, but it's actually quite layered. They basically say, how do you present yourself out there when you're shy? Because I think in trying to find a job or a career, there are aspects of having to be out there. Putting your CV means being out. Being on LinkedIn means being out there. Being in an interview means being out there. Being in an internship means being out there. So for people that are a little bit shy, they're not great at speaking. What can they do to better present themselves?
One thing that I shared, I ran a program recently, Tsepo, called Unmuted, and it's exactly that, right? It's helping people become unmuted, stop being shy, stop being mute, use your voice, right? And so one of the things that I unpacked there was just the narrative around what is shyness, because it's so fascinating that in the first time I meet someone, hi, Bohlale, yeah, my name here. Once they get used to me, now we have full-on conversations. They bubbly, they talking, and I say to them, can you see what a shyness is actually a choice? You chose to be shy because you didn't know who Bohlale was. Now that you know me, now you're bubbly, now you're speaking. So you're not shy. I think people take on shyness like it's a coat that they wear every single day. Now I'm shy. No, no, no. When you are around people you're comfortable with, you are not shy. So don't use it as this personality or this characteristic trait that you take with you everywhere. Tell yourself that you have the ability to not be shy. You have the ability to speak when it matters. You have the ability to speak when people that you don't know are in front of you. The ability is there. So shyness is something that is stealing away people's potential, stealing away people's opportunities, just because you have some level of a complex around people that you're uncomfortable with, people that have more experience than you, people that, you know, are in positions of power and positions of decision making. So I always say, if you feel like you're someone that's shy, if you feel like you're someone that's introverted, take a bet on yourself, because no one is going to come and save you from that. No one's going to come and hand grab you and put you into a role. You need to get out there. You need to back yourself. And the more that you see yourself doing that, the more that you push yourself through the discomfort of communicating, through the discomfort of putting yourself out there, even if it's on LinkedIn, right? The more you do it, the more that you get more comfortable doing it, the more it becomes a skill set, but you have to do it first. No one's going to help you out of that. So I think shyness is something that can completely be overcome. I think it's a choice a lot of times, and it just takes taking that first step.
100%. And I think practice and preparation helps with that as
That's
well.
it.
Just being
That's
prepared,
it.
practicing stuff always helps. Karabo asks a
Yes.
really interesting question and speaks a bit about themselves as well. So Karabo was an intern. They've now been absorbed into a specific organization, and shout out to them. And they've now been offered a fixed term contract. And what Karabo wants to know is, now that I've gotten this fixed term contract, what do I need to do to position myself that at the end of the contract, I get a full-time position, which I think a lot of people are in. You're an intern, you are in some sort of learnership. What do you need to do within that space to ensure that you're in a better position to be absorbed at the end of your contract or period?
I love this question. And it's such a great question, Karabo, to be having right now whilst you're in your internship, right? You're not waiting until the end to figure out. So one of the things that I think are so important for young people as they are in their internships or fixed term contracts that they know are coming to an end, I think it's so important that whilst you are in it, learn to be someone that is curious. And what do I mean by that? Constantly be finding different ways to learn, constantly be finding different ways to ask for opportunities, to ask questions, right? Ask the right questions all the time. Come to work prepared all the time. The idea here is that you really want to become the kind of person that's remembered. You don't want to end up being a number, one of the people in our internship. No, no, no. They need to know you by name. And the only way you're able to build the kind of brand that is known by name is if you're someone that is standing out, someone that's showing up when it matters, someone that's communicating even if it's uncomfortable, and someone that is really just buckling down and being consistent in some of those small habits and behaviors that are so important for you to be building whilst you're in your career. And building relationships is one of them, right? Building relationships is critical. Be strategic about who you build a relationship and why you build that relationship with that person. But also, more than that, delivering quality work. Sometimes, you know what, it's great to know people, but if people can't back the work that you do, null and void. It doesn't give them an anchor, it doesn't give them anything to really ensure that you are someone that they are fighting for. So deliver quality work, guys. Be exceptional at what you do. Build the right relationships, continue being the kind of person that is curious, that is learning, and make sure that people know you and know you positively, right? They mustn't know you, that person, she's always late, she always comes late, or that person is never reliable. Even when we said we're meeting at 10, 11. look at the ways in which you're behaving on a day-to-day basis and ask yourself, are you building a reputation that is going to back you later on when it's time for them to decide? Or are you building the kind of reputation that's actually going to make people say, no, it's fine, we're not going to retain this person. So focus on some of those basic daily habits that are really going to allow for you to stand out and make it a no-brainer for an organization to want to retain you.
Yeah, I love that. You know, a mentor of mine once said, it's all about having a learning spirit. Like, have a learning spirit, ask questions, absorb information, share things, which I think is a really, really big one. Avuyela asked a really interesting question. So right now we're talking about people that are in the actual internship or have been offered a job, and we're going all the way to apply. So Avuyela says, how do I stand out when applying for jobs? And I'm assuming the standing out is what should be in my CV that helps me to stand out, or in my application or in my cover letter. What are some 1 or 2 things that I could potentially add? I'll share a story of something that I added, but I want to hear from you as the expert, because I'm in your food, I'm here to learn as well.
Great questions. How do you stand out in a saturated market, in the job market? How do you make your application stand out? Well, I think first and foremost, like I said earlier, learn to tailor your application. If you're applying to APSA, if you're applying to SASOL, whatever the case may be, make sure that your introduction in terms of your profile summary, that first little paragraph on your CV, and if you are sitting there and you don't know what paragraph I'm talking about, this is the reason why, right? You should know how to structure a CV in a way that sells you. So that paragraph is your first introduction. And if in that paragraph, the person is not able to pick up that you understand the organization you're going into, we know a little bit more about who you are and why you'd be a great fit for the organization, you've almost lost the opportunity immediately. So learn to tailor your CV. Make sure that you have the type of CV template that is attractive. Make sure it looks professional. Make sure there aren't small grammatical spelling errors in your CV, because that is something that, guys, I promise you as a recruiter, within the first 7 seconds, we are making a decision as to whether we want to continue reading or not. And if we see grammatical errors and the formatting is not okay, it's like, no, I don't even want to strain myself trying to read this, right? So tailor your CV. Make sure you've got a great profile that you can use and a great template that you can use. Guys, academics matter. So for those of you that are still studying, start locking in. Start locking in into studies, because at the end of the day, it's not about A's and B's. It's about, I see that this person is committed into what they're doing. They are wanting to really, learn a lot. They're wanting to really showcase their potential. We read into your academics more than just what the numbers are telling us, right? It shows your aptitude, your potential, and how seriously you're taking your career. Then I'd say, in your CV, you need to have been able to speak to some leadership, extracurricular, part-time work, guys. Don't go through a whole 4 or 5 year journey at university and have nothing else to show outside of being at university. Those things matter. Those are the things that are going to make you stand out in the long run. Learn to list your achievements. I think sometimes we get achievements from university, from workspaces that we are in, and we negate to list it. Achievements speak about your ability. So learn to list your achievements in your CV, learn to speak about your achievements from a LinkedIn perspective. There's different places that you can make sure that you're articulating this, right? And just attention to detail. I've said this time and time again, whether it's your LinkedIn profile, whether it's your CV, make sure there's attention to detail, make sure it's aligned to who you are. And that is what's going to allow for you to then stand out.
That makes sense. There's actually 2 things that you've mentioned that have raised 2 other questions, and I want you to keep your recruiter hat on. Rotendo says, I've gone through the applications and now I've been called for the interview. How do I now stand out in the interview itself? Because now I've gotten into the room. And then going back to the CV, it's another question from Sipo. Sipo asks, there's a lot of free courses that are out there. Do these free courses actually make a difference to my CV? As a recruiter, when you see Google free, what, is it actually saying, oh, okay, the person's done something, or are you guys just scanning through that? So those are the 2 questions that have come up since you said you put your recruiter hats on.
Sure. So let me start with the free, excuse me, the free, excuse me, the free online courses, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, are free online courses do we actually see them from a recruiter's perspective? The answer is yes, we do notice them as additional learning that you have been proactive about, that you've taken the initiative to do. But what we ask ourselves is, where have you used it? So it's all good and well. I think even during the COVID time, Tsepo, there were so many people that were just stacking up these online courses, and it's great, but and then what? Like, where have you used that, right? You choose, if you choose an online course, how are you implementing it? How are you applying it? In what areas are you applying it? That's what we look for more than anything, right? So first and foremost, you must choose an online course from a recognized provider. Don't just choose any online course that's there, but make sure that the online course you are learning is building relevant skills. Because now, once you've done that online course, now you can update your skill set section. Whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's in the CV, you can update your skill set section based on what you've learned. And then in the interview, which I'm going to touch on later, when I'm asking you, oh, I see you say you've got the skill of ABC, tell me where you got it. Now you're able to speak to it based on the course that you did, right? So ask yourself that, where have I been able to apply what I've learned? What projects have I built afterwards? What communities have I joined because I now have this certification? You need to show the evidence behind it. So we're not just interested in certifications. What is the evidence for what you've done with that certification? Because yes, the certification gets our attention, but the demonstrated skill is what actually opens doors and creates the opportunities, right? So that is my take just from an online course perspective. Now you've got the opportunity, you've been called for an interview. I love interviews. Wait, guys, let me tell you. Not being the one that's interviewed, but I love interviewing people because it's so clear. In that first question, yeah, tell me about yourself, which people dread completely. It's so clear whether you've prepared for the interview or not from question one. Sometimes as recruiters, in the first 5 minutes, we already know whether we want to hire you or not. Just based on preparation, yeah, tell me about yourself. So where am I getting at with this? Acing your interviews has everything to do with the level of preparation, right? And what do I mean? You don't wake up the night before and say, oh, Ghana, tomorrow I've got an interview. Let me quickly prepare. Let me quickly skim over the website. Let me quickly skim over this and skim over that. You will not come up prepared. 2 days minimum before is when you start preparing. You start by researching the organization. And by researching, we're not just talking website, right? The idea is not for you to come and regurgitate the website. I know the website. I work for the organization. We built the website. We know the information that's there. Why does it matter, the information that you're reading on the website? That's what you need to be able to articulate. So you go onto the website. You also follow LinkedIn. LinkedIn is going to tell you, what is the organization been doing currently? What are the projects they're working on? Do your research holistically, not just website. Go and see what the organization has been really busy with. Then get to know and understand what you've put in your CV. I better not ask you a question in the interview around your CV and you don't even know that it's in your CV, right? Then the other thing, understand the job spec. Once you understand the job spec, you are able to articulate why you are a good fit for that particular role, because you understand what the expectations of the role actually are. And last but not least, learn to prepare some of the top 10 interview questions that you know you're going to get asked. Firstly, starting by, tell me about yourself. You can get all of these resources, guys, whether it be on Get Corporate Ready, the Career Playbook, YouTube, all of the top 10 questions, you are going to know exactly what it is that you need to prepare, and then you just start rehearsing it. In the mirror, talk back. If someone asks you the question, what are you going to say? Rehearse it, actually say it. Because the more you say it, the more you hear how you're going to be responding, and it gives you time before the interview to correct how you actually wanted to say things. So preparation, preparation, preparation. Preparation is what's going to give you confidence. Preparation is what's going to allow for you to show up like someone who is intentional about the role that you've applied to, and not just one of 100 roles that you've applied to. So that's what's going to help you ace your interviews.
Oh, Bohlale, this date could go on for another hour. I'm learning so much. I mean, I've had jobs and jobs, but I'm learning so much from some of the things that you're saying, and you're making it so real and so simple for all of us. There are so many questions, and I know we're coming to the end of it. I know, Bohlale, you speak to a lot of young people across different aspects. What's that one piece of advice that we all need to grasp? Because I'm sure you've heard a lot of some of the questions that we pulled up. You've heard them before, but what's that one piece of advice that you think we all need to have?
One piece of advice. I think back to what I had said earlier, Tepo, one of the biggest things that I think become important as a human being, just going through life in your career. Your career is long. It's a long journey. You're going to figure things out as you go, right? And one of the biggest things that I think is so important is really first and foremost understanding self. Learn to understand who you are. Learn to understand what your key strengths are. Learn to understand what unique value or capability you bring to the table. And make sure that as you craft your career, you are crafting in alignment with who you are, in alignment with your interests, because that's really what allows for you to stand out. That's really what allows for you to be the GOAT in any industry that you're in. You have to be dedicated to really aligning yourself into whatever it is, whatever path you've chosen from a career perspective. Because once you do that, work stops becoming a job, something that you just wake up and you drag yourself to, but it starts becoming part of who you are. It's an extension of who you are. It starts becoming a career, something that you embed into your own level of growth, your own level of, expansion as a person as well. So really start at the core of understanding what your personal brand actually is. Who are you? What do you want to bring to this world? What are you good at? Because all of us are different for a reason, right? We can't be looking over at our shoulder, looking at our friends and seeing how far they've progressed in life and wanting to be like them. They are not you. They don't have the story you have. They don't have the upbringing you have. They don't have the skill set you have. They don't have the mindset. They don't have the same ambitions as you. So stop trying to follow the paths of other people. Follow your own path. Learn to understand that, because that's what really helps you become exceptional in the career that you've chosen for yourself.
Oh man, and that's why you are number one. That's why you're the best of the best. Absolutely love that. Thank you so much for going on this date with us, for being so open and honest and having fun with us. It's clear by all the messages that we need to have another date. So we're gonna schedule another date. Hopefully, we've impressed Bohlale enough to come back for a second date. Hoping. Bohlale, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Tepo. I really appreciate this. Was so much fun. Thank you, everyone, for engaging and for your questions. There's a lot to unpack as when it comes to careers, but hopefully in that next stage, we'll be able to unpack some more. Tepo, thank you to you and the team for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. So Bohlale's been absolutely amazing, and we'll definitely look at bringing her back. Having a date number two. Because there's so many questions. People want to know so many things when it comes to careers and so forth. So we'll definitely consider having that second date. So let's get into the winner's circle in terms of those 4 lucky individuals that will be getting themselves free access to the career playbook. So these are people that were engaging, they were following us on social media, they were asking all types of questions. Shout out to the next 4 people that are into the winner's circle. So the first is Sillo Mpalo. A big shout out to you, Sillo. Look out for our email. A shout out to Karabo Mutlong. Karabo, a big shout out to you. I know you have just gotten a job offer and you're trying to figure it out. So the career playbook comes to you at the perfect time. And then a shout out to Elizabeth Izimora. Big shout out to you, Elizabeth Izimora. So it's Blessing Izimora, not Elizabeth. Blessing Izimora. A big shout out to you. And then our last person is Rotondwa Namali. Rotondwa, a big shout out to you. So big shout out to Rotondwa, Silo, Karabo, Blessing. Look out for our emails coming straight to you in terms of the career playbook. And we'd love to hear from you guys. Should we have a second date with Bohlale? She was amazing. She was amazing. Scan the QR code, rate the session. Within there, you can tell us, what should we do next? Should we bring Bohlale back? Should we speed date with somebody different? Should we speed date with an entrepreneur? What should we do? We want to give you guys the resources and the opportunity to be able to engage with people that are really, really important. So scan the QR code, rate the survey, let us know, what did you enjoy? What didn't you enjoy? And of course, you also stand a chance to also win some vouchers as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you so much for signing up onto Black Bullion. Thank you so much for joining this session, Speed Dating with an amazing career advisor. Thank you so much to Bohlale. Thank you so much to the team at Sanlam Foundation as well, and all of our partners. That brings us to an end of this Speed Date.